a brief history of the United States of America. Hi, boys and girls, ready to get started? Once upon a time, there were these people in Europe called pilgrims, and they were afraid of being persecuted. So they all got in a boat and sailed to the New World where they wouldn't have to be scared ever again.
Oh, I'm so relaxed. I feel so much safer.
But as soon as they arrived, they were greeted by savages, and they got scared all over again. So they killed them all. Now, you'd think wiping out a race of people would calm them down, but no. Instead, they started getting frightened of each other. Witch! So they burned witches. In 1775, they started killing the British so they could be free. And it worked, but they still didn't feel safe. So they passed a Second Amendment which said every white man could keep his gun. I loves my gun. Loves my gun. Which brings us to the genius idea of slavery. You see, boys and girls, the white people back then were also afraid of doing any work. So they went to Africa, kidnapped thousands of black people, brought them back to America, and forced them to work very hard for no money. And I don't mean no money like I work at Walmart and make no money. I mean $0. Nothing. Not a zip. Doing it that way made the USA the richest country in the world. So did having all that money and free help calm the white people down? No way. They got even more afraid. That's because after 200 years of slavery, the black people now outnumbered the white people in many parts of the South. Well, you can pretty much guess what came next. The slaves started rebelling. There were uprisings, and old master's heads got chopped off. And when white people heard of this, they were freaking out and going, I want to live. Don't kill me, big black man. Well, just in the nick of time came Samuel Colt, who in 1836 invented the first weapon ever that could be fired over and over without having to reload. And all the southern whites were like, yeehaw! But it was too late. The North soon won the Civil War and the slaves were freed. Yep, they were free now to go chop all the old masters' heads off. And everybody was like, oh no, we're gonna die. But the freed slaves took no revenge. They just wanted to live in peace. But you couldn't convince the white people of this. So they formed the Ku Klux Klan. And in 1871, the same year the Klan became an illegal terrorist organization, another group was founded, the National Rifle Association. Soon politicians passed one of the first gun laws, making it illegal for any black person to own one. It was a great year for America, the KKK and the NRA. Of course, they had nothing to do with each other, and this was just a coincidence. One group legally promoted responsible gun ownership, and the other group shot and lynched black people. And that's the way it was all the way to 1955, when a black woman broke the law by refusing to move to the back of the bus. White people just couldn't believe it. Huh? Well, I won't say move. What's going on? Man, all hell broke loose. Black people everywhere started demanding their rights, and white people had a major freaky fear meltdown, and they were all like, run away! Run away! And they did. They all ran fleeing to the suburbs where it was all white and safe and clean. And they went out and bought 250 million guns and put locks on the doors, alarms in the houses, and gates around the neighborhoods. And finally, they were all safe and secure and snug as a bug. And everyone lived happily ever after.
The history of the territorial expansion of the United States is a story of wars won and lost, of regions bought and sold. When France lost the French and Indian War in 1763, it ceded most of its possessions in North America to Britain, extending British domain beyond the original 13 colonies. Since Spain was an ally of France, it had to give East and West Florida to Britain, but was compensated by France with territory west of the Mississippi. With the Declaration of Independence from Britain in 1776, the United States was formed from the original 13 colonies, but had to wage war with Britain to establish its sovereignty. The Treaty of Paris concluded the Revolutionary War in 1783, with America expanding to the Mississippi River, and Spain recovering Florida, since in this war it was an American ally. But in 1800, Spain secretly ceded the Louisiana Territory back to France, where Napoleon was hoping to establish an empire in North America. When President Thomas Jefferson learned of this arrangement, he became concerned with the potential threat of an aggressive empire builder. He sent envoys to France to purchase New Orleans and West Florida for $10 million. Instead, they came back with the entire Louisiana Territory for $15 million. Napoleon had needed money for his war against Britain. In 1810, American settlers led a revolt against the Spanish in West Florida, capturing the port of Baton Rouge. The remainder of West Florida was annexed later by President James Madison. In an agreement after the War of 1812, Britain ceded the Red River Basin, and the boundary between the United States and British territory, what is now Canada, was set at the 49th parallel, with the Oregon Territory to be jointly occupied. In 1821, the Spanish cessions of East and West Florida were finalized, and Spain surrendered any claims to the Pacific Northwest. Later that year, Mexico proclaimed its independence and became another power in North America. Settlers had been moving steadily into Texas, and as in Florida, fought for independence, this time against Mexico. The Republic of Texas was declared in 1836. The slavery issue had kept Texas from being annexed for several years, but with the threat of a Mexican invasion, President Polk authorized its annexation. American settlers moved into Oregon Territory, causing border disputes. Rather than risk war in 1846, the border was extended along the 49th parallel as it is today. But to the south, war erupted between Mexico and the United States over the Texas border. Mexico lost and relinquished all claims north of the Rio Grande River, as well as New Mexico and California. Diplomat James Gadsden purchased additional Mexican territory for $10 million in 1853, establishing the present-day boundary. In 1867, William Seward purchased Alaska for $7.2 million from Russia, which had been ready to abandon its designs for an empire so far away. The same year, Canada gained its independence from Britain. The Spanish-American War of 1898 proved Hawaii to be of strategic importance to the U.S. Navy, and it was annexed from Spain as well as Puerto Rico. By 1912, all of the territories of the lower 48 were admitted as states. Alaska and Hawaii joined the Union in 1959, completing the current formation of the United States.